Welcome to Human Design Center. I'm glad that we share a common interest in human design, the science of differentiation, the art of living your life according to your unique design and genetic matrix that sustains it. Today, you are going to learn or recap, as the case may be, about Hexagram 3, difficulty at the beginning. Ordering. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order. Hexagram 3 is part of first trimester of ALCYONE, where we accomplish our purpose through mind, initiation, thinking, thoughts. Gate 3 corresponds to JANUS, a god of fertility of the mind, fecundity of the mind that recognizes that the life has to come through form. Gate 3 flows within the individual knowing circuit, which is about present time, now, hearing, acoustic, melancholy, empowering myself and empowering others. Keyword of the circuit, empowerment. The opposite gate is number 50, the gate of values, the Cauldron, located in the third trimester of Jupiter's Zodiac sign. Gate 3 lines 1, 2, 3, 4 are in Aries sign, and the lines 5 and 6 of Gate 3 are in Taurus. Relevant organ, navel. Amino acid, leucine. Located in center, sacral center, that gives the energy for the power of fertility, vital energy, the response, sexual availability. Tarot card associated, 2 of Cups. The harmonic gate is number 60 as limitation, acceptance, both forming the generated channel 360, channel of mutation, a design of initiating and pulsating. Gate 3 in third trimester, in Janus, forms the channel with gate 60 located in the root center. In the fourth trimester of Sirius, trimester of mutation in spirit, connecting Janus to the archetype keepers of the wheel. This way, amino acid leucine associated with gate 3 communicates with amino acid isoleucine of gate 60. It is relevant for the value and functioning of this gate to observe that amino acid leucine is the same as for the gates 42, 27, 24, all of them in Janus, first trimester, and also for gates 23, 20, and second trimester, under the castle of goddess Maya. It is useful to observe that these gates, 42, 3, 27, 24, 23, 20, share the same amino acid, leucine, placed within both the energy of ALCYONE through mind and of civilization through form. Leucine is an essential amino acid, meaning it should be brought into the body from your diet, because the body cannot make it. Human dietary sources are foods that contain protein, such as meats, dairy products, soy products, and beans and other legumes. It is the most important ketogenic amino acid in humans. So, since we've located the gate on the mandala and on the body graph, and we have a general summary of the essential characteristics of Gate 3, now let's dive into the third gate message and energy. The third gate is an extraordinary gate. It is called difficulty at the beginning. The fundamental challenge of initiation is to transcend confusion and establish order. If you want a good meditation, think about that for half of your life. This is life itself, to transcend confusion and to establish order. We are so busy establishing order on this planet. This is what we have been doing from the beginning, and we are getting faster and faster at hooking up this order throughout the entire global village. The third hexagram speaks for this intrinsic process of life itself. Life itself is to transcend confusion. What this is saying to all of us is that there is nothing wrong with life being confusing. Life is confusion. The longer I live, the more I realize how long you have to live to come to grips with the confusion of life. The confusion is not the enemy. This is so important to understand. Confusion is natural before mutation can take place. Out of confusion comes this mutation. Out of this transcendence comes a new order, which is not simply a new regulation or a new controlling. It is a new order in the sense that the third gate represents the potential for genetic mutation in life. These are children that come into the world with new genetic combinations. Gate 3 is about the way of transporting genetic information of the child's parents through the newborn human body. Gate 3 organizes these informations. Here in Gate 3, it is decided the sex of the newborn child. As we globalize our planet, we also globalize our mating process. We have been mixing genes from all over the planet. All kinds of interrelationships in the 20th century have brought out a whole new mix in the genetic pool. This also represents a new order in genetic material because it is our ongoing responsibility as a species to survive through genetic diversity. The third gate speaks for this process of life. The essence of life is confusing, but the purpose of all that is to transcend the confusion and establish the order. People who come to human design always come in a state of confusion. They come in the obvious state of confusion, which means they are not being able to make sense out of something, to understand or to know what it is to be themselves and why they live the life that they do. All confusion that we experience as humanity can be transcended and order can be found, but that is a process that we have to go through. Written over the oracle was this wonderful inscription, "Know thyself." This is the primary function. Life itself is not confusing, but being alive in the world as a human is confusing. Gate 3 in Janus is about fertility of the mind in relation to how we perceive confusion while there is chaos in our life and how we overcome the difficulties during chaos, heading towards new beginnings. Questions for those that have an activation in Gate 3. How do you deal with accepting, limitation, or chaos? Do you recognize that chaos is a new order? Walking through the 6 lines of the Gate 3, it's a process that will bring clarity to you in relation to nuances of the content and expression of the third gate. At the end, we will touch upon the crosses of Incarnation, where Gate 3 plays its role and become part of the purpose. Let's see. GATE3, line 1, synthesis. The third hexagram is about the generation of life itself. It is about what literally brings us into the world. As such, the first line lays a foundation for what it is to be in the world. If you have the 3.1 and you are really introspective, the first thing that you know is that you are confused. What do you do about it? Nothing, because you know that somewhere down the line, life will explain itself to you. If you have the first line and you don't know that you are confused, then you are really confused. You think you really know what is going on and everything breaks down in your face. This is the nature of this first line. It speaks for our whole life process. Recognize that we all come into this life confused, and we go through most of it confused. In most of those situations, if we are psychically healthy, the confusions in our life will be resolved naturally, as a way. That is what we are here for. We are great ordering creatures. We do manage to make sense out of things in the end, even if it is a lie. But the moment that you do not accept that confusion is natural, that the way is not your way to control, that is the moment that deep confusion comes in, and the sense of, where is the way? Gate 3, line 2, immaturity. When you get to the second line, you get to immaturity. The first line spends all its time involved in the introspection of saying, I have confused energy, and the second line projects that out to everybody else. Everybody looks at the 3.2 and they say, aren't they confused? They do not know where they are going. That brings all kinds of people who say, you shouldn't do that. You should do that. The 3.2 does not know its depth. The second line does not look inwards, and it does not know that it is truly confused. It just puts out the confused, immature impression, and then people come and say, you poor thing, let me show you the way. The third gate is very confusing. The moment that you are confused and someone else shows you the way, you get even more confused because you are being shown the way by someone who is just as confused as you are. The unrestrained acceptance of guidance. They do not know where they are going. They do not have the depth to understand that it is okay that you do not know where you are going. It is not up to you where you go. Our whole process is not about what we do. It is about what happens to us the moment we let go off trying to control our confusion. The moment we try to hammer our confusion into some kind of order is the moment that we get deeply confused. Life has a way. Human beings do not recognize how wonderful they are, how clever and adaptable they are, how much they learn in a lifetime, how what they learn is exactly for their confusion so that they can finally have order in their life. In the second line, Mars becomes exalted. The moment you see Mars heading a line, you know that this is a line that always reflects a built-in immaturity. Mars is a 12 or 14-year-old child. They can be delicious some days, and they can be absolute monsters the next day. The unrelenting energy for growth will eventually triumph. Again, one side of this process is saying, check out all the guides, listen to all the teachers and gurus. Eventually, you will find your order anyway, and you will resent all these people and what they tried to tell you. On the other side, the Uranus in detriment, internal instability which both accepts and rejects authority simultaneously. We all live with these dichotomies in lines. Even if you have a planet fixing one side, you will meet the energy on the other side. In the White Book, the energy and potential for individual mutation, that is, mutation after the 3.2 has gone through this deeply confusing process of being guided by others and finally finding its own order. The whole thing about the lower trigram is that it does not really want to deal with the other. The second line is just a projection that it is putting out. It does not really want to deal with what it will end up dealing with. And then it gets very confused. Energy and potential that is conditioned by others, leading to instability. Do this. You are doing the wrong thing. Put your energy in this and not in that. All second lines end up in this dilemma of calling others to them to tell them. They are putting out a projection, and that projection is being met by what they are not prepared to meet. The moment that the second line puts out the projection, I am confused, it really does not know what it is confused about. It does not know that it is projecting out confusion. It is getting people coming up to them and telling them, you are confused, and they are astonished. You are going in the wrong direction, don't you see? No. They immediately pull people who take them and try to control the direction of their mutation. Gate 3, line 3, survival. The most volatile and mutative of all lines is the 3.3. Those mutations can be devastatingly bad, and they can be wonderful. It is called survival. You will notice that in the third line, where Pluto is in detriment. Pluto has not been in the third gate of Aries for over 150 years. During 2020, Pluto reached the 60th hexagram on the other side. Very important to keep that in mind when you take a look at this line, because we are living in a time in which only the positive attributes of evolutionary mutation are at work for us. We will get to a point where there will be a negative field of mutation that will affect the whole planet, particularly the children that have been born under the configuration when Pluto entered the 60th gate. An innate knowing of what is sterile and fertile, where the mutation is specifically biological and dependent on collaboration with others. In other words, how to come from a state of confusion, after all, every line of this gate is about being confused, to the recognition of what is fertile and what is sterile. The way we do that is the way the third line works, trial and error. Some things will be positively or negatively mutative, and some things won't be. Trial and error is built into survival. Venus exalted. In reproduction, the ability to choose the best mate. By the way, that does not mean the best lover or the best friend or partner or person to be in your life. It just means the one who is going to help you to produce the mutation in the child that you are having. Don't get carried away with that line. It is not about choosing the best mate as your partner for life. It is about being best productively in that sense. Pluto in detriment. The perverse denial of evolutionary standards. We do not have that. That is a recessive gene. All kinds of things that have a negative, mutative impact on us. Again, What you are looking at is this fulfillment. This is the end of the lower trigram after all. It does have its depth and projection, but it also has the capacity to adapt and remember. All third lines have the sense that, even though they are stuck within their own gate, there is something out there at the other end of the channel. They do not really know what it is. They are not the fourth line, but they do know something about that, because they are forced to adapt through trial and error. The third line says where the trial and error comes in. One thing to understand about going through this survival process is that in order to survive confusion, you have to be willing to make those mistakes. You have to be ready to try different things because trial and error is built into it. An innate contrariness which refuses to mutate. When Pluto comes to the 60th hexagram, we will have a whole generation of people who come and provide us with no new mutative material. This is a generation that will be a blind end when it comes to reproduction. It will have difficulties in reproduction. The nature of the third line is that confusion is something that we can transcend through trial and error. All third lines have within them this ability to make mistakes and survive. That is the person that has 4 children with 4 different lovers, and one of them is really great. It finally got it right. It got the genetic material it needed. Now I have the order that I really needed in my life. The other 3? Well, by the way, politicians are born to the 3s. It is perfect for them. Gate 3, line 4, charisma. When you come to the 4th line, you come to another process. We move into the upper trigram. In the 4th line, we are talking about something that is deeply aware of the fact that there is something else at the other end of the channel, and that it no longer is involved in its own process, but has an integrated process with other forces. This 4th line is called charisma. Think about the channel of charisma, the channel 20/34 in the integration network. If you see that in a chart where it is not connected to an awareness, you know that these are people that deeply need guidance in their life. The most charismatic people have, standing behind the curtain, someone who takes most of the money, most of the power, and does not do the front job, which is done by the 2034. Their charisma goes out in the world, and the people in the back count all the money. By its very nature, charisma is about being guided. Everything about the 3rd hexagram is about living out the natural confusion of life. No matter what line you are dealing with, in one side is a way of living out that confusion to find what works, and the other side is all about being even more confused by thinking that you can find a way out of the confusion instead of just letting that natural process happen. Innate quality which attracts valued guidance. These people are focused on being confused. That is their charisma. After all, they have a one-track mind. If you look at the 18.4, the incompetent, you see that they are not capable themselves of solving the confusion because they are not designed to. They are designed to have someone else do it for them, legitimately. After all, they are looking to the other side of the channel. It is a totally different process. They are looking across for someone to give them guidance. They are looking to the 60th hexagram to root them in the stable order of what is past in order to see the movement of what is new. They are looking for the other side. By doing so, they attract Neptune exalted. Psychic attunement that magnetizes nurturing. When you see Neptune in a line, you know that you know nothing about any of it. Neptune is veiling everything. Someone says, "You just pulled me in," and they say, "Did I really do that?" They have no idea of that psychic magnetizing of others. That is pouring out of the Neptunian veil, and they do not know. But underneath that 4th line, it is going back to its resonance in the 1st line. The 1st line knows, let's wait long enough. Life will solve our confusion. Here, the 4 says, not only do I know that, but that is what I will project out with all my might. I am confused. Immediately, there is someone who shows them the way. On the other side, Mars in detriment, where the demands of ego lead to rejection. To this kind of people you say, I know exactly what your problem is. All you have to do is and they look at you and say, I am confused. The other person repeats the advice and they still say, I am confused. They are totally wrapped up in their confusion. They may come to you for guidance because they externalize that confusion, and you are there saying, oh, I can help you. And then you get mad at them because they do not listen to what you tell them. No matter what problem these people have, if you come with a solution, they still say that they are confused. This is their energy. This is the fixed way that it moves out. Please understand the nature of guidance. What it is saying about life itself is that not only is life a confusing ordeal for us because we need to transcend the confusion to find order, but it is exceedingly difficult to do it alone. One of the terminologies that exist in the world is this assumption and vanity that human beings have, the idea of having an individual karma. There will not be any mutation unless there is a whole chain of mutative forces that are at work. At the highest level, once we go through the lower trigram process of saying, I am confused, we finally get to the upper trigram process that says, I am confused, but not only will there eventually be order, but I will find that order through others. In this sense, they are being guided. The worst scenario for these people is someone who has this line and a defined ego. I am confused, but so what? I will continue to be confused my way. You are not straightening me. Gate 3, line 5, victimization. The 5th line has this delicious name, victimization. Remember the nature of its resonance to the 2nd line that projects out, I am confused. When you get to the 5th line, you have other people who project on the 5th line and say, that one is confused. The 5th line may or may not be confused. They may have already transcended the confusion and be totally in order. The other side is looking at them and says, aha, they are confused. I'm going to guide them and take advantage of them. The moment that the outside force is guiding the 5th line, the victimization is always possible. Remember, the 5th line is not necessarily confused. It just receives that projection. It is like a child that goes home to his parents as an adult, and the parents are still seeing the child. They do not see the mature adult. It is not possible for them. The 5th line is always getting that kind of projection. They are always being seen as being confused, whether they are or they are not. As an overview line, it says, when actions designed to overcome confusion alienate others. I am not confused. Let me show you. Yes, you are. That is confused. There is no way that they can convince the others that are projecting on them. Take this example. Mom, I am no longer a child. I'm a big boy now. Oh no, you are still my baby. No way to escape that. Mars exalted. The courage to stand by one's convictions. Very immature to deny that projection to live out the nature. I am not victimized. Underneath that, the earth in detriment, where victimization leads to appeasement and suffering. These people do not necessarily need to be guided. After all, they are there as a universalizing principle. It is one of the things that we see as a completing process in this hexagram, that so many third gate people are victimized, that confusion gets victimized and projected on from the outside because people think that confusion is bad. Our logical process, which is very different from this individual process, says that order is something that we can establish. Here are the guidelines, logically. Being confused is not necessary. Come over here, and I will show you how not to be confused. The collective gives confusion a dirty name because it loves to be moralistic. Confusion is bad, and order is good. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. What happens to us planetary-wise is that there is this enormous pressure placed on confusion that it must be resolved. I have so many people that come to me with undefined G centers who have been literally ripped apart by people who said, you must know who you are. They became the victims in that kind of imposition of someone else's guidance through lack of awareness, through lack of recognition of their own nature. Keep in mind that the 5th lines represent the universalization of a hexagram. The universalization of confusion in our world is victimization. If you are confused, someone is going to pick on you. If you are confused, someone will try to use you. Confusion is not bad. It is life. It will go away to a certain point in time. The unique energy of individuality to withstand confusion and confused energy which is dominated by the ordering power of others. The integrity of the individual speaks here. The integrity to follow your own convictions despite the projections of others. The integrity of the individual is that it recognizes that confusion is okay. It is about accepting this. Every hexagram speaks for all of us. You cannot avoid these things. They are in the world. The moment that you are victimized when you are confused is the moment that you are at risk. That is the moment that you have given up on the recognition that life itself is the great organizer of things. That is why, in a way, we might consider that this hexagram begins the wheel because it begins this process of recognition. There is no way that we will figure things out right away. They all take time, and the whole life process is a constant movement through states of confusion until we reach a point of clarity. Whenever you look at the first and fifth lines, you see the whole story. The first line tells you the deepest truth of what a hexagram is. The fifth line tells you how the world sees it. The world sees confusion as an opportunity for victimization. By the way, the positive attribute of that is what we call public education. Let's straighten all these people out. Let's show them the order. Teach them the ABCs. Teach them how to be good, moral, orderly creatures, and make sure they do not cross the street against the light. We ingrain that in everybody as a result of this being the universalizing symbol of what it is to be confused. Confusion has a bad name. Gate 3, line 6, surrender. With the sixth line, you get to the roof. There you have a different movie because it is not really part of the hexagram anymore. It has all of that process inherent in it. It knows all of those steps. All of those things are there, even if it is not really in touch with them. They are built into the nature of the sixth line. It has a beautiful name, surrender. We start with synthesis and end with surrender. This is the nature of what it is to live in a confusing body in a confusing world. Surrender. It is not up to us to dictate the nature of the solution. Ordering comes of itself. Please remember that the sacral center is not aware. It is a very hot and sweet. It's a machine. It is just doing its job. It is just putting out an energy force, an energy field. There is no awareness attached to that. In this energy itself lies this wonder of surrender. There is a genetic switch in us that says, okay, let it be. The ultimate maturity to recognize when struggle is futile. Don't fight. Why should I do anything about my confusion? Says the sixth line. It is okay with me. Do you have a problem? I don't mind being confused. If you think that I am confused, it is okay with me. The sixth line does not have to do anything. It is interested in the whole circuit, and the whole individuality circuit is enormously complex. Its final stage is to bring about a viable mutation for all of humanity. That is not likely to happen every 2 or 3 seconds. There are so many people with this line who say, why should I do anything about this confusion when I will have that confusion tomorrow? I'm still confused. This is not solving anything for me. Let me just be confused. I do not want to mutate. I'm not ready to mutate. I don't care about mutation unless I can really see that it is possible. Can it really happen? Otherwise, I will stand back here and do nothing and vibrate with my sixth line. Sun exalted. As its light sustains, so life goes on. This voice says, the sun is still shining. I will eventually find my order. I will not struggle in this life. We meet this all the time, especially if we are existential and live with our awareness in the now. We observe that life just happens. All we have to do is to let life to happen. We come into this plane of existence, into a plane of confusion, and it takes enormous courage to let it all just happen. Look, it is simple. This is what you are. You cannot change it. It is neither good nor bad. Life will happen to you, and you vibrate in that process in response. It is simply a fact. It is just the way it works. The sacral is not an awareness center. Fear lies in all awareness. Fear is awareness. There is no fear in the sacral center. It is not afraid of surrender. It does not really know what that means. It just knows that it does not have the energy to fight to get through a particular confusion when it is not the complete thing. Those people won't believe in any order unless that order is an absolute and you can prove it over and over again. Otherwise, it is not worth the trouble. Why should I go to that therapist when I know damn well that they are not able to solve my problem anyway? The innate acceptance that ordering is a process, not a problem. Please notice Pluto in detriment. It has never been in gate 3.6 in our lifetime until year 2023. The overwhelming power of confused energy can lead to depression. The sixth line is not like the rest of the hexagram. It is looking far beyond that process, and in the plutonic darkness, it can feel enormously depressed about the nature of the world. Remember that the gate has not been activated in detriment by Pluto until 2023. In the time that we live, and in the children that are born into this cycle with Neptune in 60, all these children are coming in with this mutative potential to surrender. It is there in us. This gate is about what life is. It is the essence of life. Life begins with confusion, and when you get to the end of the process, your ultimate maturity is simply to accept there is nothing that you can do about anything. Let it just happen. Very difficult for human beings. One last thing. If you look at the 3.6, the next hexagram is the 27. It is in the sacral center. It is about nourishment and caring, and the first line of the 27th is about being selfish. With surrender comes the recognition of what it is to really be surrendered to the confusion. The next step is to look after yourself, care for yourself. That is the lesson after the sixth line. Now let's move on to a different perspective to see how the third gate sustains or communicates the purpose of life through the crosses of incarnation that are established when the conscious sun is placed within the third gate. Third hexagram, right angle. Cross of laws, consisting of following gates, 3, 50, 60, 56. People who approach the ways we create, shape, and change our laws and values like an art. Our laws determine how we deal with each other and bring order to society. You have the energy that drives you to have laws. As a young child with this cross, if there were not rules and laws in your house, you may have found the scenario disturbing. This cross is about living out the laws of the tribe. The lead energy has mutative qualities, so there is the drive to make the laws better, but this is not revolutionary energy. The lead energy has more of a gradual change, as the law has limitations. If these limitations were to change drastically, it would feel like chaos. Juxtaposition, cross of mutation, consisting of following gates, 3, 50, 41, 31. People looking for opportunities to change unjust laws in order to establish their own place of influence in the mutative process. This cross carries the energy to cause mutation or change. These changes are generally associated with rules or laws. There may be some moral judgment, as any time you try to change law, you may be perceived as a dissident. If you make the change from the position of power, you may be perceived as being corrupt. But you are here to be a mutative force in changing the tribal rules and laws. Left angle cross of wishes, consisting of following gates, 3, 50, 41, 31. Altruistic, seductive, and influential people, always looking for possibilities which make life better for others, seeing and reordering things in a new way. Your cross has the energy to provide leadership for change in the law and the way things operate. This is always going to create tension, as there will always be those who wish for things to stay the same and those wishing for change. This cross is about wishing and hoping for a better future. You are here to make that wish for the future and provide some leadership to make it happen. I hope this material is helpful and supporting for the development of your human design knowledge. Please share if you enjoyed listening and subscribe if you want to be notified about any new posting of informative learning materials regarding human design. Thank you.